Good morning, everybody. Happy 4th of July weekend. Hope y'all are having a great time with family and spending good time with your family. Of course, I'm not Pastor Les. He's gone this weekend with seeing family and just resting a little bit. And so he asked me to talk to y'all today a little bit about the first part of the movie series that he's doing this next few months or next few weeks. And today we're going to be talking about the movie Top Gun Maverick just a little bit. That's the theme. We're not really going to be talking about the movie much, but the theme is Top Gun Maverick. And before we do that, though, everybody stand up and shake hands. We hadn't done that. And just tell everybody hello. Thank you. I appreciate it. My name's Leonard McAngus, and I'm just like most of you. I'm a member of this church, and I'm getting the opportunity to share with y'all today some things that God's been saying to me in reference to Top Gun or to Top Guns in the Bible. I've got a lot of football stories I could tell you, and I got one I'm going to tell you that my wife asked me to tell because it's one of her favorites, and it's one of mine too. And it's about one of the many Top Guns that I had the opportunity to coach. I had almost a 40-year career coaching, and I got to work with some really great kids, and from the start to the finish. And there's still a lot of great kids out there in high schools in our area. Don't think they're not there, because they are, and they're great kids. And I've had opportunity to work with a lot of them. Now, this guy now is probably 40, he's closing in on 50, so that tells you how old I am. But I was a lot younger then, too. But I got to coach him at Victoria High. I was an assistant coach, offensive coordinator, and O-line coach at Victoria High, and it was in 1994. And his name is Jared Vickers. Probably some of you know Jared. And I asked permission to tell this story before I did it, so before I'm telling it. But basically, we were in a regional finals football game against San Antonio Clark, and we're playing at UT, University of Texas Memorial Stadium. And let me tell you a little bit about what we do. I was O-line coach then. I wasn't an AD or head football coach. I was O-line coach and OC under Coach Mark Reeve then. And today's world of high school football and a lot of college, your O-linemen, they don't get in a huddle anymore. They just kind of waller around at the line of scrimmage, and they'll get down in a 2-point stance. They don't even put their hand on the ground anymore. That's just the style of football. But back in the 90s at Victoria High, what we did is we spent a lot of time, the O-linemen would get their heels together, hands on their knees, and they would have their eyes on their quarterback. When the quarterback called the plays, right 24 pass, everybody slapped their hands and they sprinted to the line of scrimmage. It's not no jog. It was a sprint, and it was a sprint every time. And we were going to intimidate the guys we were playing. That was our goal. Totally different world today. Not to judge one world against the other. But Jared in that game, before that game, he may have ate one too many chili hot dogs before the game. It must have happened. I don't know exactly what happened, but somewhere in the middle of the game, he sprints out of the huddle. He lines up. He's got a nose guard, big old kid from San Antonio Clark. They didn't have little guys at San Antonio Clark. And right before the ball snapped, he just threw up right on that guy's hands. Okay? Projectile vomit. Boom. Okay? Ball snapped. And to say the least, that D lineman did not make the tackle. He got pinned. Jared made a great block and pinned him because he was worried about the vomit on his hands. Okay? Well, later on in the game, I'm in the press box. Coach Reeves on the headsets, and he says, "What is that I smell? It smells like vomit all over his headsets." And the press box kind of knew. He didn't know what happened, and so he was kind of freaking out about it. And then another part of the story is, coaches on weekends, we work hours and hours, and so to have a little bit of fun, we would back and forth that on the video. Yeah, it was pretty fun to do. But anyway, Jared by far is one of the top guns that I had an opportunity to coach. Great kid. He's a great father and husband now, great businessman, doing really well. And it's really fun to see that of kids that you've had the opportunity to coach through the years, and definitely a top gun. But I want to talk to you a little bit about another top gun that's in the Bible, and answer the question of where is God when all things go wrong? Where is he? And this is coming out of Genesis 39 through really 45, not 41. I put 41 there, but and I know probably all of you have gone through this. Maybe some of you haven't, but I know I have. It's a gut-wrenching words when you hear you're out. You didn't make it. It's over. You're not going to be in this. You're not going to be a part of it. That's gut-wrenching. It makes you feel like you're excluded. You're locked out. The opportunities being disallowed to you. Your dreams are crushed. The door is being closed, and it seems so permanent, and it seems so conclusive and final. Y'all ever gone through that in situations? I know I have in situations, okay? Well, there's a song which I've heard this song back in the 70s, but I didn't know Dr. John. How many of y'all know who Dr. John is? I didn't know who Dr. John was. But anyway, Dr. John sang a song that goes, I'm not going to sing it, but it kind of describes this. I was in the right place, but it must have been the wrong time. I was saying the right thing, but I must have used the wrong line. I was on the right trip, but I must have used the wrong car. Things just didn't go right. I may have thought I was doing the right thing, but I was doing all the wrong things. So, if you've been through that, it's tough. Well, there's a guy in the Bible that went through a lot of those type of things. His name is Joseph, and he's the son of Jacob, one of the 12 sons of Jacob. And Joseph was not the oldest son. He was one of the younger sons of Jacob. But Jacob loved Joseph, and Joseph obeyed God, and Joseph was a tremendous follower of God and had a great faith, and Jacob saw that. And Jacob granted him the family birthright, which is a big deal. And basically that means he's going to be the manager of the family under Jacob. And that's a great deal for Joseph, okay? He's a real young guy, and he's going to be over all his older brothers, okay? So how do you think his older brothers felt? They were very jealous, and they hated him. He couldn't say anything right to them. And eventually, even though he obeyed, he did what he was supposed to do, they took him and basically put him into human trafficking. They sold him to a slave. They were going to kill him, but eventually sold him into slavery. And so he does the right thing, but he still gets put into slavery. The next thing that happens to him, that was in Genesis 37. In Genesis 39, it talks about how he was faithful to the guy that basically was his employer, although he didn't really get paid. He was a slave to Potiphar. Potiphar was the leader, one of the government leaders for Pharaoh, who was the king, basically, of Egypt. That's where Joseph ended up going. He was in Egypt, which Egypt was a very prominent country back in those days. And he was very faithful. He had integrity. He loved God. He even had opportunities to share with Potiphar about God during his time. And he was his slave, basically, that ran his whole household for 11 years, okay? And he was about 28 years old. And Potiphar's wife, he was 28 years old, good looking, well built, and Potiphar's wife decided that she wanted to have relations with him and made a move on him, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to obey God, and he took off running. He got out of there. And that's what we got to do, men, when those situations happen. You got to run, okay? You got to get away from it. And that's what he did, and you think, well, God's going to take care of me. I did the right thing. He's going to bless me. He's going to protect me. He's going to open up doors for me. That ain't what happened. She turned on him. She lied about him, and he ended up in prison, okay? And he was in prison for quite a long time. It says in Psalms 105:18 that, it wasn't just like he was in some kind of minimum security prison. He was in a prison where his feet were shackled and his neck had a shackle around it, okay? So he was in a rough place, all right? But, that's 2 times now. It's first and second time Joseph's life, in his life, that he follows God. He does the right thing. He does everything God wants him to do, and he gets the raw deal, okay? He gets the raw deal. He's still in jail, all right? Third time it happens to him. God is using him in jail. He is a man of integrity. He is a man that loves God, and he's just serving God in jail while he's there. And people in jail, the people in charge of the jail, they put him in charge of all the stuff because they could trust him. Guys, even non-Christians really want good employees who have integrity. They like Christians being under them and being used, by them. And that's what they did in that jail. They used him to run the jail. And he gained a lot of respect, and he was probably able to share to a lot of people about God while he was there. One of his gifts was that he was able to interpret dreams, okay? And so 2 of Pharaoh, the king's top people, got put in jail. One was a cupbearer and one was a chief baker. I don't know what exactly they did, but he threw them in jail where Joseph was, and Joseph was basically kind of tending to them and got to know them. And so they both ended up having dreams, to make a long story short. And you can read all this, and that's in Genesis 40, and you ought to. It's really good stuff. But anyway, the cupbearer's dream, basically, Joseph interpreted it, said, you're going to get out of this, and you're going to go back to your old job, okay? And so that actually happened, okay? And then the chief cook or baker, his dream was interpreted as, you're going to die, man. They're going to execute you, and it actually happened. Okay, so before the cupbearer left, Joseph asked him just to remember me and help me if you can with Pharaoh when you get out. Well, that didn't last long. He said, yeah, I'll do that. And as soon as he's out, he forgets about him. He don't remember him. He's just taking care of himself and making sure he doesn't screw up again. Okay. And so Joseph, for 2 years, you don't really realize this if you read it sometimes, but he was in jail for 2 more years, okay, wondering, when is that cupbearer going to help me out? But he didn't worry about that. He just kept serving God and being the best he could be in whatever situation he was in. And eventually, Pharaoh had a dream. And it startled him. He didn't know how to interpret it. He couldn't get anybody to interpret. So the cupbearer, trying to get the brownie points, said, hey, I know a guy in jail that could help you out. And so they get him out. And long story short, Joseph was able to interpret the dream and basically saved Egypt and really probably most of the world in that area, because the dream basically said you're going to have prosperity for 7 years and you're going to have devastation for 7 years, okay? And so the Pharaoh believed him and trusted him and put him in charge of it, and basically Joseph ended up, saving, I think it was 1/5 of whatever they produced during the prosperous time, and used that to get them through the 7 years of devastation that went on in Europe. Okay, so Joseph really did do some great things, but before that happened, how was Joseph? How was he going to endure these things? How would he not lose faith in God? How did he not keep from becoming bitter and vengeful and an angry man as he faced all this stuff, maybe the possibility of being in jail his whole life and never getting out? How could he do that? How was he going to be able to do that? Well, I'm going to tell you how he did it. It's the same way we have to do it if we're going to do that when bad things happen to us. It's a conviction that God reigns. He reigns. He's in control, not the situation around us. He's in control. It says in Romans 8:28, and we know that all things God works out for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose. This verse doesn't mean anything if God is not in absolute control. He has to be in absolute control. You got to believe that, and you got to know that. It's not just he's in control of this, but he's not in control of this, and he's in control of this. He is in control of all of it. You got to believe that. That's what our hope is in. That's what our assurance should be in. Job, another, if you ever read Job, boy, it's pretty depressing, okay? Because Job had everything done to him but die. God would not allow Satan to kill Job, but he let him do anything else he wanted to him. All right, well, this is Job's response to all of that, in a short little verse here. I'm going to put my glass on. I'm having trouble seeing some of this. But Job says, to God belongs wisdom and power. Job he's lost his whole family. His friends think that he did something wrong, is why this is happening to him. He lost all his wealth. He looks terrible because his face he's got leprosy. And he's saying this about God. To God belongs wisdom and power, counsel and understanding are his. What he tears down can't be rebuilt. Those he imprisons can't be released. If he holds back the water, there is a drought. If he lets them loose, they devastate the land. To him belongs strength and insight. Both deceived and deceivers are his. He's in control. That's what Job said. Okay? Job ought to know. It's two farmers. Okay? Two farmers. My wife's dad was a farmer. Most of her family farm. They're going through a drought. It's two farmers. Okay? Tough drought. They're both praying for rain. Okay? They're both praying for rain. We need rain. We just got some great rain, which we needed. But they're praying for rain. But before the rain came, one of them went out and plowed the field and prepared the field for the rain. One of them didn't. Which one of them do you think had faith in God? The one that plowed the field. Okay? That's what faith is, guys. It's not just saying something or praying a prayer. It's taking action to that prayer. Taking action to that. That's what Job did. That's what Joseph did. That's what David did. I mean, you go through Isaac, Daniel. What they learned to do and what we've got to learn to do is we've got to learn to rest in that. He reigns. Rest in that he reigns. Stay in that. Wait on the Lord for whatever he's got coming. It may not be coming as soon as you want. It never has for me very often. But wait on it. Wait on him, and he will bring it when he decides to. Trust in him and not man. Trust in him and not man. And man is including me, myself. Isaac said, stop trusting in mere humans who have but a breath in their nostrils. Why hold them in esteem when you got God? Jeremiah 17:5-8. This is what the Lord says. Cursed is the one who trusts in man, who draws strength from mere flesh, whose hearts turn away from the Lord. That person will be like a brush in the wasteland. They will not see prosperity when it comes. They will dwell in a parched place of the desert, in a salt land where no one lives. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by water that sends out its roots by the streams, and it does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in the years of drought, and never fails to bear fruit. Isaiah 40:31. But those whose hope is in the Lord will renew their strength, and they will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Trust in the Lord. Joseph, to finish up. Joseph, he had the opportunity later when they went through the years of prosperity. Things were going bad. Everybody was running out of food. There was no food. And Joseph was over all of it. Well, his father, Jacob, sent his sons to go get food. They heard Egypt had a bunch of food, so they sent them to Egypt to get food, to trade for some food, whatever they had to do. So the brothers ended up having to meet with Joseph, okay? Well, the brothers did not recognize Joseph at all, okay? Joseph recognized them right away. He knew who they were, but he didn't tell them who he was. He just kind of played with them a little bit, back and forth. He wanted to see his younger brother. The only brother that didn't come was Benjamin, which was his younger brother, and he wanted to see his brother, and he wanted to see his father too, so he was working out ways to try to get them to come. Well, eventually, he was able to get Benjamin there, okay? They were going back and forth from Canaan to Egypt, which isn't a short trip. And anyway, Joseph they still didn't know who Joseph was. And then Joseph got Benjamin. He feasted, really loved on Benjamin. And then basically he says, all right, I'm going to send y'all back to your father Jacob, and I'm going to keep Benjamin, and I'm going to make him my slave. And he's going to be with me the rest of his life. And they said, no, we can't do that. Judah, one of the brothers he was a bad guy. He was not a good guy, okay, at most of his life. But Judah recognized that, that's my little brother. My father's already lost Joseph, thinks he's lost Joseph, and now he's going to take Benjamin too. I can't let that happen to my father, so he says, take me as a slave and let my brother go back. Take me. And right then, Joseph said, everybody out. And his brother stayed, and Joseph just cried and wept over the fact that his brother was willing, this person turned and was willing to give his life for his brother. Judah was in the line of where Jesus was born. He's in the same line of his family. He gave his life. He was willing to give his life, and it broke him. And so then he tells his brothers, I'm Joseph. I didn't know that, but I'm Joseph. Scared them to death. They were afraid they were fixing to get, killed, executed. But he didn't kill them. He loved them. And he told them about the sovereignty of God. It says in Genesis 45:7-8, God has sent me ahead of you to keep you and your families alive and to preserve many survivors. So, it was God who sent me here, not you. He is the one who made me an advisor to Pharaoh, the manager of all the entire palace, and governor of all of Egypt. He forgave them. He gave it all to God. God did this for a reason, to save our family, to save us. Joseph understood that God's way is not our ways, but his timing is always perfect. It's always perfect. We don't understand that sometimes. I know I don't. God is not here to ask you to figure it out. Okay? He's not asking us to figure it out. God is asking us to trust that he's already figured it out. That's what he wants us to do, is just trust that. I got this. You just got to trust it. Okay? That's what we all got to do. But if you don't know Jesus, if you haven't ever put your trust in him, that's all he's asking too. That's all he's asking. He's not asking you to do anything. Okay? If you have to do something, then he died for nothing. It ain't about you doing. It's about you just trusting him that he's got it figured out. That's all it is. And if you want to do that, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do that right now just by bowing your heads, and then we're going to close. And then I think Trent's going to come up here, and I've always finished early. I'm sorry about that if you like long sermons. God, I just lift up everybody here. And I pray that if there's someone here, God, that doesn't know you and that they want to put their trust in you, that they would first just realize that they're a sinner and they can't get to you on their own. There's no way. None of us can. But you've done it, and we just trust you with that. We trust you with that, God, that you would bring them into your life and that they would just accept that. God, I thank you for our church. I lift up our church. If there's people out there, God, that just need to let go and let you run it, I pray that they would do that. I lift up just everything that you're doing in our church. In your Son's name, amen.